You know, usually when we talk about the end of a world or at least the end of a civilization, we imagine panic.
Right, just total chaos. Screaming, running.
Exactly. But I've been sitting with this document all week, and it proposes something completely different.
It really does.
Imagine standing in a landscape of just absolute flat destruction, and your first instinct isn't to flee.
It's to take out a brush and paper.
Right. To make a list.
Yeah.
To literally categorize the apocalypse.
It's a jarring image, honestly. I mean, we're looking at a text that simply shouldn't exist. It's called The Nagasaki Notebooks of Sei Shōnagon.
And for anyone listening who is scratching their head right now, yes, that's Sei Shōnagon.
The very same. The famous court lady from 10th century Japan, the author of the Pillow Book.
Right, the one who lives in the Heian-period. That is literally 800 years before the atomic bomb was even a concept. She was known for being incredibly witty.
A bit of a snob, let's be honest.
Yeah. Oh, totally a snob. And just obsessed with aesthetics. She made these famous lists of hateful things or elegant things. And yet, in the source material we're doing a deep dive into today, she is inexplicably walking through the ruins of Nagasaki on August 9th, 1945.
It's a surreal premise.
Yeah.
It reads almost like a ghost story or a really intense literary thought experiment.
Yeah. But the mission of this deep dive isn't to figure out the, time travel mechanics of it all.
No, not at all. It's to understand the perspective. We're asking, what happens when a mind that is uniquely trained in ancient courtly poetry and hyper-specific observation tries to process modern nuclear annihilation?
And that is the hook for me. Because usually accounts of the bomb are about physics or medical horror.
Or military strategy.
Exactly. But this is about, well, aesthetics. Which sounds awful when you say it out loud, right? Finding elegance in a wasteland.
It sounds incredibly callous at first glance.
It does, but as I was reading, I realized she isn't trivializing it. She's using the literally only tool she has to keep from going insane. She's trying to organize the chaos into something she can actually understand.
Exactly. She's imposing order. And that starts immediately with the event itself, the flash.
Right.
Most eyewitness accounts really struggle here. But Sei's struggle is specifically linguistic. She's a poet, and she realizes instantly that her entire toolkit is broken.
She talks about the failure of metaphor, which I found just really profound.
Because language works by comparison.
Right. You say, it was bright like the sun or loud like thunder. You map the unknown thing onto a known thing so people understand it.
But she stops herself and says, no, this isn't like the sun.
Because the sun nurtures life, and this was light that killed.
Exactly. She calls it incomparable. And she doesn't mean that as a compliment. She means it as a terrifying cold fact. The atomic flash was a human-made phenomenon that just exceeded every single category of nature she knew.
She actually writes that we need to invent a totally new language for light that acts as a weapon.
Which makes sense. If you can't compare it to anything, you can't really describe it.
Yeah.
And if you can't describe it, you can't process it mentally.
And right after that complete failure of language comes the silence.
Yes.
And she doesn't just say it was quiet. She describes a very specific type of silence. She calls it a pregnant silence, or a silence that is holding its breath.
That distinction is so vital. A peaceful silence is empty, right? But this silence was full. She notes that in that split second right after the flash, the silence contained all the screams, the fires, the crashing buildings.
All the things that just hadn't reached her ears yet.
Exactly. It's a suspension of reality. It's the physical gap between the cause and the effect.
It reminds me of when you see lightning and you're just waiting for the thunder, but on this massive cosmic scale.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
But then she pivots to something that honestly made me physically uncomfortable to read. She admits, and she says others whispered this too, that the flash was beautiful.
It's the ultimate taboo. But she's committed to the truth of her eyes, not just her morals. For a fraction of a second, before the realization of the death and destruction, the visual spectacle of that magnesium white light was just awe-inspiring to her.
It forces you to confront a really difficult idea, that beauty and horror aren't actually opposites.
No, they can occupy the exact same space. And for Sei, whose whole life in the imperial court was about chasing beauty, this is devastating. It betrays her. The most beautiful thing she has ever seen is the literal thing that destroys her world.
And that destruction leaves these traces that she obsessively catalogs. She has a list called Things That Make the Heart Ache Suddenly.
Such a classic Sei Shōnagon list title.
Right, and one of the entries is the shadow burned into stone. We've all seen the historical photos of the nuclear shadows, But her analysis of it is so specific, she talks about it as a reversal of the natural order.
That's the key to her horror here. In the Heian worldview, and really in our worldview too, people are the solid, permanent things. Shadows are fleeting. They disappear when the sun goes down or a cloud passes.
But the heat of the bomb was so intense it bleached the stone around the person.
Effectively etching their shadow forever, while vaporizing the physical person.
So the shadow survived the body. The effect outlasted the cause.
Precisely. And she finds it unbearable because it's a permanent record of a split second. It freezes the terror. She calls it a photograph made of stone and ash.
Moving through the ruins, she starts doing what she does best, finding small, highly specific details. She calls them things that catch the eye, and she finds a spider web.
Yes, the patient architecture, as she calls it.
This really stuck with me because of the contrast in time. She finds this web stretched between two charred beams of timber. The spider is gone, presumably dead, but the web itself is perfect. It's covered in dew.
And she describes the dew acting like prisms. You have this gray, ash-covered, completely monochromatic world, and then this tiny web breaking the light into little rainbows.
I think she actually envies the spider.
Oh, definitely. The bomb was an event of microseconds, instantaneous destruction. But the web represents hours of slow, deliberate work.
It's nature's indifference, which is both comforting and chilling at the same time. The spider didn't know there was a war.
It didn't know about uranium or geopolitics. It just built its home. Sei looks at that and realizes that the human catastrophe is just that, human. The laws of physics that hold the dew on the silk threads are still working. The universe hasn't ended. Just the city.
There's another object she finds that feels like it fell out of another time, a child's spinning top.
Oh, this part is incredibly moving.
It's wooden, painted red and blue. And she picks it up. She actually talks about spinning it in the rubble.
And this leads to a heartbreaking moment of what she calls theft. She admits to slipping it into her kimono sleeve. She steals it.
But not for its monetary value. She talks about the color theory of it. When she spins it, the red and blue blend into purple. And she says, "This I understand."
It's like she's desperately clinging to the fact that colors still blend the way they're supposed to.
It's an anchor. In a world where buildings have turned to dust and people have turned to literal shadows, the physics of a spinning top are reliable. The red and blue make purple.
It's a small, manageable truth in a sea of incomprehensible horror. But keeping it is also an act of preservation. She knows the child who owned it is likely dead. By taking the top, she's acting as an archivist.
She's saving the evidence that a child played here.
Exactly.
She does something really similar with a tea bowl. She finds a white raku tea bowl sitting on a scorched black table. Now, for you listening who might not know, rakuware is significant here.
Very significant.
It's this low-fired, hand-molded pottery. It's usually highly porous, fragile, and prized for its imperfections.
Right. It's the physical embodiment of wabi-sabi, finding beauty in the imperfect and the impermanent.
But here, the irony is just crushing. You have this fragile ceramic bowl that you could break with your bare hands, and it sits there without a single scratch. Meanwhile, steel girders are twisted like pretzels, and thousands of human bodies are gone.
It's the survival of the fragile. She writes that the white bowl on the black table is visually perfect, and she hates it for that. She almost wants to smash it because its survival feels so unjust.
Why does the bowl get to live when the people don't?
Exactly. But she leaves it. She realizes that the bowl is a witness too. Its perfection highlights the utter destruction around it.
This theme of form surviving when the content is gone transitions into the people she sees. She observes what she calls rituals of resistance.
Yes.
There's this incredible scene with an old woman washing her face.
This is one of the most powerful images in the entire text. The woman is standing near a broken pipe. The water coming out is rust-colored. Her hands are severely burned, and she is going through the motions of splashing this water on her face.
And Sei points out the obvious. Physically, this is pointless. The water is dirty. The face is burned. She isn't getting clean.
But that's exactly why it matters. If it were about hygiene, it would be a total failure. But it's not. It's about dignity. Sei realizes that by washing her face, the woman is drawing a line between herself and the animals. She is reasserting the routine of the morning. She is saying, I am a human being who washes her face, even if the world has ended. It's a ritual that holds up her internal civilization.
We see that same defiance with the tea ceremony. She stumbles upon an old man in a destroyed garden. The tea house is gone, the utensils are chipped, but he is whisking the tea with absolute perfect precision.
He's preserving the kata, the form. In Japanese culture, the form of the movement is often almost more important than the outcome. Sei notes that his movements are elegant, specifically because they are defiant.
If he stops performing the ceremony, then the bomb has won completely.
Yes, it would mean they've lost their culture, not just their physical infrastructure.
And then there's the soundscape. She hears music, a koto player. He's playing Rokudan no Sharab.
Which is a standard, very classic piece for the koto.
Hmm.
It's significant because it's often associated with blind musicians. It's music about listening, about the inner ear.
And the instrument is damaged. It's cracked. But she describes how the music interacts with the rumens. She says the pauses in the song, the mar, are filled with the sounds of the wind blowing through the wreckage and distant cries.
That's a profound observation on art itself. She says the music doesn't try to drown out the ruin. It incorporates it. It frames the destruction. It suggests that art isn't just a luxury you enjoy when times are good. It's a mechanism for processing reality when times are at their absolute worst.
I want to shift to how she views nature, because usually nature is the healing force, right? The thing that comes back. But here, nature feels indifferent or even strange. She talks about the dragonflies.
Blue dragonflies. Orthotrim japonicum. She watches them mating in the air above the smoke, and she feels this intense envy.
She writes, they are lucky. They are driven only by biology.
They don't have consciousness. They don't have to understand why the city is gone. They just have to continue the species.
But then nature gets weird. The crows. This part gave me the creeps, honestly.
Very unsettling.
She sees 3 crows sitting on a wall looking toward ground zero. And they aren't cawing. They're making a clicking sound.
A secret language. Sei wonders if the animals knew the natural order had been violated. The bomb was so unnatural, so extreme, that she imagines it actually changed the behavior of the birds.
It creates this eerie sense that the witnesses aren't just human, that the natural world is looking at us and judging us.
And then you have the ultimate indifference, the ginkgo tree. It's autumn by the time she's writing some of these entries, and the tree turns yellow.
The disturbing beauty of the schedule.
Exactly. The bomb changed history, it changed geopolitics, it changed human genetics. But it did not change the seasons.
Sei finds the yellow leaves objectively beautiful, and she feels guilty about it. She feels guilty that the world is still capable of being pretty when so many people around her are dying of radiation sickness.
That brings us to the new death. Radiation sickness. She calls it atomic bomb disease.
This is where her role as the detached observer cracks. She watches a woman dying of this sickness, air loss, purple spots, bleeding gums, and Sei doesn't help her.
She confesses her cowardice. And this is important. She doesn't paint herself as a hero. She stays back.
She chooses the role of witness over participant because she's terrified of the contagion.
She's afraid of this invisible poison.
Mm-hmm.
It's a moment of deep, profound shame for her, but she records the shame anyway. She lists her own moral failure right alongside the physical destruction of the city.
Let's talk about identity, because one of the things the bomb did was erase identifiers. Faces, records, homes. Sei creates a list of things that have lost their names, and she tells the story of the tansu chest.
This is such a heavy metaphor. A tansu is this massive, lacquered wooden chest used for storing kimonos and family heirlooms. It's incredibly heavy. And she sees a woman carrying one on her back, just staggering under the weight.
And as the woman walks, things are falling out of it. A comb, a mirror, a sash. But she won't put the chest down.
Because that chest is her history. It's her proof of existence. If she drops it, she's just another refugee with absolutely nothing.
But if she keeps it, she's a woman with a past, a family, a lineage.
Exactly. Sei follows her, picking up the dropped items, again acting as this thief or archivist. She's saving the pieces of a life that is literally disintegrating as it moves.
She even notes that the name Nagasaki has changed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nagasaki used to mean a specific geography, hills, a harbor, trade. Now, she says, the name refers to a void. The word has survived, but the thing it named is gone. It's a linguistic ghost.
In that void, she sees photographs taking on a terrifying power. She describes paper faces populating the ruins.
When the physical bodies are unrecognizable or just missing entirely, the photograph becomes the real person. Survivors set up these little shrines with formal portraits.
Sei notes that these photos are more permanent than the people were. The city becomes inhabited by these frozen, smiling images from the past, just staring out at the hellscape of the present.
It's haunting.
It is. Now, we can't leave this just on the despair, because Sei, true to her relentless list-making nature, finds a category for things that show improvement. She finds pockets of hope, but it's a very gritty, realistic hope.
It's not Disney hope. It's biological hope.
She sees children playing, a group of kids kicking a rag ball around, and they're arguing about the rule. That was out of bounds. No, it wasn't.
That argument is the most precious thing she hears. Because to argue about the rules of a game, you have to mentally step out of the survival world.
You have to create a magic circle where the game actually matters.
Exactly. It shows that the capacity for play, which is a high-level human function, wasn't bombed out of them.
And the vegetable garden. Someone has cleared a tiny patch of rubble and planted radishes.
That is a bet on the future. Think about it. Planting a seed requires you to assume that the world will still be here in 3 weeks, and that you will be alive to harvest it.
In a context where death can come from the sky in a flash, planting a radish is a massive act of defiance. It's an assertion of time.
There's also the morning glories. Someone planted flowers, not food, just flowers.
That touches Sei deeply. If you plant radishes, you want to survive. If you plant morning glories, you want to live.
It's a rejection of pure animal survivalism. It says, I am human, and I need beauty even here.
She even finds a weird comfort in bureaucracy. She describes a man at a salvage desk meticulously stamping ration cards.
The persistence of bureaucracy, it seems absurd, right? The city is gone. Why on earth are we stamping forms?
But Sei realizes it's a performance of order.
Right. If they stop filling out forms, they admit that society has collapsed. By stamping the paper, they are pretending that the government, the law, and the future still exist. And by pretending, they help make it true. They are holding up the sky with paperwork.
So we're coming to the end of the notebooks, and we have to look at Sei Shōnagon herself. She knows she's an impossible observer. She knows she shouldn't be there.
She struggles intensely with the burden of the witness. She wonders if she is a ghost, or a demon, or just a literary device. But she decides that her survival, however arbitrary, gives her a duty.
She is there to see what others can't bear to look at. She is the eye that doesn't blink.
But even she has limits, and I think this is where the text lands the hardest. There is a list she absolutely refuses to make.
She writes the heading, "Things I Wish I Had Never Seen," and then she leaves it entirely blank.
That silence is the loudest part of the book. She draws a line. She refuses to describe the worst horrors, particularly the condition of the children she saw.
She implies that to describe them would be to transmit the trauma to the reader. It's an act of mercy.
It shows us that there is a limit to language, and perhaps a limit to what we should ask of history. Some things are simply too terrible to be turned into a list.
The document ends with an image of her sitting on a broken stone, sharpening her brush, continuing to write.
The work continues. That's the final message. The world ends, meaning is lost, logic fails, but the observer continues to observe. The list maker continues to make lists.
It's the insistence that seeing and recording matters, even if you don't know who is ever going to read it. It's the ultimate affirmation of consciousness against the void.
It's a heavy, beautiful, and incredibly complex perspective. It challenges us to look at our own world differently. If everything we knew was swept away tomorrow, what would we notice? Would we see the horror, or would we see the spider web?
And would we have the courage to write it down? That's the question. But before we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over.
Yeah, think about your own blank list.
Exactly. If the digital world evaporated tomorrow and there was no cloud, no servers, no photos, if it all vanished in a flash, what is the one physical, mundane object you'd want someone to find in the rubble to prove that you were here? Would it be a spinning top? A broken tea ball? Think about what your tensu chest is and whether you're carrying it or letting it weigh you down.
That's a powerful thought to end on.
It is. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the Nagasaki notebooks. It's a lot to process, we know. But sometimes looking through the eyes of an 800-year-old poet is the only way to see our present clearly. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.